Hello, and welcome to Lawyers Weekly Front and Center. My name is Scott Ziegler. I'm with Lawyers Weekly, and today we're talking about some of the risks associated with online commercial banking. With us today is Frank Licata, Chief Executive Officer of Licata Risk Advisors. Licata Risk Advisors were voted #1 in the risk advising category in Massachusetts Lawyers Weekly reader rankings. One thing before we start, it's important to note that Licata is not an insurance broker and does not sell insurance, but an advisor to companies and organizations that need insurance. So, Frank, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Sure. Thank you, Scott. Great to be with you once again. We're a risk management firm, so we act as risk managers for companies on an outsourced basis. We have about 40 clients for whom we are the risk manager, and we do projects for companies on risk identification, contract management, insurance negotiation, insurance competition. So we are involved in the insurance industry, but not in it on our clients' side of the table.
Okay, so let's get to talking about some of these risks that are associated with commercial online banking. And I'm going to start with one broad question, and that is, are commercial online banking systems generally secure?
Well, they are from time to time, but they're not constantly secure. And what's the reason for that? Well, IT security is a leapfrog game between the hackers and the IT security folks, and the bank's systems are secure until they get hacked, and then a solution, a fix is found for the hack, and the game starts all over again. So from time to time, there are holes in the system. In fact, a great fun read for the beach this summer is in Wired magazine. It's called The Confessions of Marcus Hutchins. And this will give you some insight into how those systems, not only bank systems, in this case it was specifically bank systems, but how they become insecure from time to time. And Marcus was a hacker in England, and he started off very innocent, doing some Facebook, impersonations and so on. And then gradually, as you keep doing this, I mean, the kid was a savant, he had quit school. So as you do it all day long, you meet unsavory characters. Eventually, he found himself creating software to hack into bank accounts. And he got over his head at that point. He did get picked up by the U.S. authorities. And the story is very, very fascinating, kind of a fascinating personal read.
Wow.
You enjoy it.
So if something goes wrong at a bank, most people would think the bank would take responsibility for that. Is that true?
Well, you might think so, but don't forget, we're talking about business accounts, and you may think of that as a contract between equally sophisticated parties. So I would not assume anything. In risk management, we'll just say, let's see the contract. Let's see the contract, and then you will find that in commercial banking, online banking systems, you'll be shocked by what you will find. In fact, I've got one here in front of me. This is a major bank, not a small local. In fact, small locals may be more accommodating. And this is so this bank, the online banking agreement, I'll read just two little pieces. There's a limitation of liability, which says that the bank is only responsible for, this is quite common, this kind of a system, this kind of an arrangement, 12 months of annual fees, which is virtually nothing in this context that we're talking about, theft from your bank account. That's pennies. So the bank is saying they're not responsible for virtually anything in the initial contract. And then to further enhance that from their point of view, there's an indemnification agreement whereby the customer indemnifies the bank or any liabilities they may incur as a result of the customer's activities. So it's so they're, in this case, they're walking away from it, at least in the initial draft.
Sure. So I guess the logical follow-up question to that is, are these bank contracts negotiable?
Yeah. Well, just in our work, in contracts in general, non-insurance contracts with providers, they're negotiable if you're big enough. As like everything in life, I would say that if you're a big enough customer to that bank, it's negotiable. If you're not, a fallback position is to say, well, let's look at other bank agreements, because they do vary. We've seen great variations in how tight the agreements are and how much give they will allow to the customer, just in general in the agreement. And then of course the negotiation is the second step.
Okay, so I guess my last question is, can organizations and companies get insurance as a backstop to any of these online banking issues that might arise?
Yeah, sure. Based on what we've just talked about so far, you can see that that's advisable. And the insurance that would apply to theft of monies from your company's bank accounts would be the crime insurance, not cyber. A lot of people will automatically jump to the conclusion that it's cyber coverage. It's crime insurance, which covers that scenario. And you want to make sure that you have, at least in this context of banking, you want to have at least two insuring agreements, which, the crime insurance policy has multiple agreements, but these two apply to the banking, and they are computer fraud and funds transfer theft. You want to make sure also that the limit is high enough not to cover, your average bank balance, but because the event of the hacking could occur over multiple years, and the policy in force at the time it's discovered will have to have a limit sufficient to cover all of the crime activity over those years. So one thing I would just caution, one thing on the insurance in general, please be careful on the applications. Don't take them casually. A lot of times you just go through checking the boxes. Yeah, good, yeah, sure, yeah. But the questions are very specifically worded, and there are traps all throughout them. Let me just give you a couple. I've got. There's a whole list of questions on a crime application, but here's two. Are bank accounts statements reconciled at least monthly? Well, monthly, that's a specific requirement. I mean, if you, before the next statement comes in, you better have reconciled the previous one, or else you're out of compliance. Second one, does someone other than the person responsible for reconciling bank accounts make deposits? Again, you've got separation of duties, very important principle, but what happens when people go on vacation? What happens if people are too busy and it doesn't happen? These are yes or no answers. There's no leeway in there. There's no usually or customarily. It's just yes or no. So be very careful.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, you've answered the questions that I had for you today, Frank. So let me ask you this. What's the best way for people to find Licata Risk Advisors and ask questions or get more information?
Sure. The website, licatarisk.com. Now, my name is visible under my video here, so I'll just spell, it's Licata, Licata, risk, risk.com. And everything that we've said is up on the website in the blog section, including a link to that article at Wired Magazine. It's a fun read. Suggest everybody do it. But more importantly, in addition to the fun, control those contracts and negotiate that insurance.
That's great. Any final thoughts?
No, I say let's get out to the beach. I mean,
yes.
Careful, stay safe, but let's get out and about. It's time.
All right. Thank you, Frank.
Great. Thank you, Scott. Great talking with you today.